What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. This podcast brings together guests and individuals from all over the place on all different journeys, sharing their journey, their pursuit, where they're at today, and we go in and out of all the things in between throughout that story that they share. So, it's really fun, and you're able to gain a lot of value from this. I think a lot of individuals can take gain a lot of insight and relate to a lot of the things that go on. So while their journey may be completely different than yours, you'll be able to connect. So I don't know why I drew that out so much. It's been a rough couple of weeks. That being said, if that's for you, check it out, subscribe, share, like. If it's not for you, just please check it out, subscribe, share, like, and get it out there. So definitely, don't.
You can hate us as much as you want. Just please don't. Just don't. Just don't.
Super authentic and real. And if that's a problem, please just don't be a jerk.
Precisely.
As always, we got my man Logan Hyder of Cinema 83 in the house doing his thing.
Hello.
And today we have is it a three-peater?
Three-peater, I think, at least. Well, technically we got a four-peater, but we never did the whiskey episode. So
we got a three-peat guest,
man,
my friend for quite some time now, and a fellow entrepreneur and local here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Mr. Tylor Gentry.
Wow, I shouldn't be clapping for myself.
No, you should.
I'll nuck you. You should nuck you.
What's
it
up,
feels
buddy?
good to be back, boys.
Should be.
I was just saying off mic that I haven't heard myself on headphones in a while, so it feels good.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Doesn't
Doesn't it just like, wow.
I don't like the way my voice sounds, but
Even in this?
It's I can manage it on here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can listen to it for sure.
I think you got a very handsome voice, dude.
You don't have to tell me that.
Yeah. Well, I will say, Tyler shared his story before. So now, what you'll get every once in a while on these podcasts is the repeat guest, and we're just going to talk about different things. It's a conversation and talk about growth since then.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
I do want to say, since Tyler's last come on, he's now had a baby girl.
Dude,
very nice.
big dad guy.
And I want you to share that journey with us.
Forgive me, I can't fully remember if we actually talked about it on the pod.
I don't know. So the last time you were on was...
So the first one, I know I was not expecting.
Yeah, that was way up there.
I think that was even pre-marriage.
Yeah, that was way up there.
And then the second one, I'm not even sure.
Where is the other one?
So that's not even the first one. The first one was at the garage.
Oh,
the first
yeah,
one was
that's
so
right.
this one,
So that
we have
is
not
the
talked
second.
about it at all.
Yeah,
No,
no,
so
it couldn't
yeah,
have.
so
was that the last time, though? The second? that picture?
yeah, and then the whiskey pod that hasn't been.
So
That wasn't too long after
So
that.
that would have been like... That would have been like a year and a half ago that you came on.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, got married shortly after that, I believe, or around that time.
Yeah.
And then, just you had Oz, I think Ozzy's 6 months now, or 7 months now.
No, she's not. She's 9 months.
She's 9 months. So Letty's 4, going on 5. She'll be 5 months in a couple days. So, yeah, dude.
So you're
honestly,
expecting?
No, I were.
You was expecting?
She's 5 months old. She'll be 5 months old. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I'm sure this is cliche, but I don't know what I was doing before I had kids. Like, I have a stepdaughter. She's 9. I met her when she was 3, and that changed my life for nothing but the best.
Yeah.
And then had my own, and now I'm like, what was I even doing before I had kids?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially being a business owner, it's like having multiple kids. I have 2 businesses that are running right now, and it's then I got 2 kids at home and then a marriage, and I'm like, I think let's have a couple more kids, let's spice it up a bit,
Yeah.
Not enough chaos around here.
Y'all gonna have more kids?
Yeah, I'm a big, I like my last name, not for the look and feel of it, but I just, my dad, and I just want to carry on the legacy, man.
Yeah.
So I would love to try for a boy.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, it's not God's plan. I'll figure it out.
At the end of the day, your daughter carries your blood,
Yeah,
and, they carry it on a different way.
I was trying to convince my wife of that last night, and she seems to think that we have to have a boy, so I'm not against it by any means.
Yeah.
But, dude, having girls has been, it's a learning curve for sure, but it's made me a true, I'm stepping into manhood,
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
For sure. And I would argue that my journey to manhood took a lot longer than I'd like to admit. But
dude, I don't think a lot of guys ever really get there.
Yeah, some people don't, but I think the best thing I would recommend kids to everyone. Even if you don't think you're ready, even like whatever. Like I just think I hated kids before I had kids. Now I love kids.
Unless you're really gonna suck as a parent, please don't.
Yeah, I mean,
don't do them that
definitely
disservice.
be in their life at least.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I love her, man. She's like, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah,
We talk about it a lot. So that's another thing that's changed in my manhood journey. I was running 2 businesses, not caring about my health at all, and I sat down with you one day. I don't even know how that came about. But I was like, dude, train me and let's just make a monster.
Yeah, I think you just randomly texted me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, hey, dude, I want to train.
Yeah, bro. And I love what you're doing here, not only from pods and content and all that stuff, but I just look up to you as a man. And I was like, well, I want to be more like Joe. I'm probably not going to get any head tattoos yet. I've been thinking about getting one on my arm, but I don't know if I'm ready for it.
Head tattoos. Go do head tattoos first.
Yeah, just get it out of the way. Yeah.
Once you get that one out of the way, you're good to go.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and knock it out.
Good to go.
But yeah, dude, started training with you. I think it's been 4 months now. Probably the best I've ever felt in my life.
Nice.
Other than this week, I had to take some time off because I hurt my back. But you know, whatever. Gains are always still happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, so started training and we just text each other all the time about creating a monster. And I think creating a monster is not a negative thing. It's more of a positive thing. So I'm like trying to be a monster for my marriage, my kids, my friends, like businesses, everything you think of. So
Talking about that Jordan Peterson monster.
Yeah, exactly.
Jordan Peterson monster.
Very similar to that. More of like
be a monster and control it.
I have the capabilities to be a monster, but like I'm just here to have a good time.
Dude,
Better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
that's a fact, man. I'm a werewolf, so I just keep it under control, baby.
Look at us.
Look at us.
Basically the same thing. Yeah, you just let it out when you need to. I like it.
Exactly.
I love it, dude. I love it. But yeah, fatherhood has been the most gratifying, like rewarding experience ever.
I want
Dude,
to ask you something.
nothing like it.
There's first. Sorry.
There's nothing like it. I think, like I said, I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
I
bro.
just highly recommend it.
Dude, I talked about this the last episode that dropped today.
See, that's what I was going to bring up.
A lot,
Yeah.
but you know, it's just I mean, every day I'm just like, oh, like last night I got home just before the girls, and because Lydia was working at Smithville, and we just like sat on the bed, like she had to change her and stuff, and we just were like on the bed for like an hour, and Ozzy was like, you know,
Just cooing,
crawling around.
yeah.
I started like popping Lydia on the butt, just messing her because she was laying on her stomach, and Ozzy like crawls over, and she's just like.
That's awesome.
I was just laughing. It was so funny, man. She was doing the same thing I was.
We were talking about it off mic a little bit about just like stressors of our daily lives, and I'm a firm believer like there's nothing better than coming home at the end of the day with a wife and your kids and like just it all goes away in my opinion. Like
Dude.
it doesn't go away forever, but it goes away for that time being of like holy crap, dude. Like think about all the crap I've done today, and then I come home and I'm like I ain't even done nothing. Man. This is
Exactly,
awesome.
dude. Fuck like getting staying at work late. Like I'm gonna be here while it's still dark for hours.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why I'm up so early, and I get here when I do because like I want that time with them. Because that if absent of that, like if I lose focus of that, or you know if I'm not present with them, then like really what's the purpose? Like there's such a massive part of that.
All this goes away.
Yeah.
It all goes away.
Yeah,
You know,
dude.
it took me a while to realize that. Like I've when I first started into this journey of building a business, like I wanted to be the guy. I wanted to be like Lambos and houses and all that stuff, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah.
But all of that had no meaning to it. Like, why do you want
Dude, you're
a
just
Lambo?
on Instagram like,
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
weak?
yeah, like,
look
what
at
are-
my Lambo. You could have this, but you're a bitch.
Exactly.
God, I
and
hate
then
those videos.
You know, and it makes you feel bad because
Yeah,
you're
I'm
like,
like,
God,
God.
why do I? You know, and then I got to, like I said, I was on that journey of like, man, what is all that? Like, why? Why do you want such, you know, this or that or this or, you know, why? And now I know why. Now I know, like, now I don't want a Lambo anymore. It'd be
Dude.
sick to have one for a couple weeks, but
I was talking to Lydia the other night about just some perspective stuff, and like we want to get a house and stuff
Yeah.
on some land, and I'm like, you know, and like there's pressure to like do that, and especially the world and everything. But at the same time, I was like, you know, one thing I've loved about this journey though, and like, yeah, sometimes it's really hard, and like I'm like, you know, talk about bills and all the stuff, cost of everything,
fun stuff.
and I'm just like, you know, whether I'm holding Aussie in a chair outside, like on 100 acres, or holding her on that like recliner right
100%.
there, I'm holding Aussie.
And you're
Like
good to go.
and there's at the end of the day, there's no difference
It's a
except for the
perspective.
setting, and like I've got it made, you know, and you
dude.
got to reflect on it. And it's been great because like, when you're really fighting for things, you have to focus on like the things that actually matter, or you will lose your mind. And whatever actually matters to you it varies, right? But
100%.
like that right there is like all I need when it comes down to
basically, this isn't a podcast for everyone. It's for Logan. You need to have kids, dude. I'm just kidding.
Hey, I got one with 4 legs. I'm just kidding.
Hey, it counts.
But can I ask you a question seriously though? Please. So your brand is Ambition, the one that obviously you have your other business as well. But there's a lot. I'm sure you picked that name on purpose, right? There's a lot of thought that's been put into all those kind of things. So one thing that I like to talk about a lot is balance, right? And so like we had this conversation.
Oh man, you're not gonna like this
on a Patreon. No, don't trust me. It couldn't be more aggressive than the way he put it. He basically said "fuck you" to my face.
Okay.
But my argument, first of all, to that response is that just because you go 100% doesn't mean that's not balance, because there's 0 and 100 is a part of a balance as well. People think balance is 50-50. You're standing like this.
Right.
Not true. You can't drink 100. You can fucking die from drinking too much water. But you can also die by not drinking enough water.
Enough water, for sure.
So the point being is that balance isn't 50-50. It could be 99-1. It could be 100-0 given the right scenario. Sometimes you do need to go all in. Sometimes, like the example I gave him was like, maybe just don't try heroin. Maybe you just don't need that 10%.
Yeah, because you don't need to go 100% in heroin.
You could take positives from having that experience. Like he had a drug issue and like he took a lot of positives from it.
Yeah.
And now he helps other people. Like there's positives that come from it. My point being is if you go into that situation, I'm not going to be like, well, heroin's one of those things where you just give it a try once.
Yeah. No,
you're going to be like, no, maybe just don't ever do that. So that's a 0, right? So
right.
my point is it's a little bit all over the place, but each situation is different. So this is a balance question, really. Is why I bring this up. How do you balance sitting at the end of the day and you're like, this is all I need with ambition?
You don't. I'm
because those two things seem at odds with each other.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's always going to be it's a power struggle, right? Like, if you can really look at your purpose, right? Like my purpose is to have a great family, great relationships, and do the best I can for everyone around me. In that, I find my internal purpose, which is building businesses and the things that I thoroughly enjoy. In that pursuit per se, I don't think there's, to be honest, I think the work-life balance thing is a bit overplayed because especially in our industry, I don't think you can have balance. I don't think I don't want to say it's not possible, but you're in constant pursuit of being the best you can for your people that you work with, your family at home, your dogs, like whatever that case is, you're never going to have balance. Because if you're focused at 100% of giving one thing your all, then you bounce to the next one and you give that thing 100%. Especially in the startup phase of businesses, like I would argue that I'm in that phase today, 8 years into the game. And I don't think there's a way to balance it, at least from what I've been through, right? Like I want to spend more time at home, but I also understand that I can't spend a lot more time at home because I'm building this business and I get off work at one job and I go to the next one and do those things. Mm-hmm. So balance is a very difficult word because you're never, to your point, it's never going to be, I have 50% here and 50% here, so it balances out. Right. There are some days where I work till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night and I don't see my family and I don't get to kiss my kids before they go to bed. Right. But there's been weeks where, Snow Week was a perfect example. It was low on the construction end. We had done all of the things we needed to prepare for Ambition that week because we go in a week by week. We have our big plans, but we go week by week and just knock them down. And that week was a little lull. So I was at home with the kids sledding. I was able to have those moments. But there's never for me, there's never a time where I'm like, all right, every Thursday at 4:00, it's date night and I'm going on date night. And then after that, I'm going to do this because dude, the moment you write your own plans, it's all shot to hell. Dude. Yeah. It's like, this morning is a perfect example. Yeah, right. Like I woke up, I've done something on my back. My wife's not feeling very well. We got toilets clogged up. You're running all around. And I'm like, dude, I was supposed to have 4 things done this morning and I haven't even started reading my Bible or I haven't even started my morning routine. Yeah. And it's 11 o'clock, so the balance thing's tricky for me. I also know that there is a way to build and design time through a schedule. And there are things, I can't think of the word right now, but there are non-negotiables, things that have to get done. Right. And those are things that you do and you get them done. But on the balance thing, it's so up and down for so long, bro. I mean, even on my other business is a painting construction business. And I find myself having a great plan and it all goes to hell after 2 days. And it's like, all right, well, my job is to get the job done. So that's my main focus.
Yeah.
And that could be an umbrella for getting the job done is taking care of my kid while my wife goes to get her nails done. Or that's just, it's how you shift your focus, man.
Yeah.
That's a long-winded way to say that.
Yeah.
But.
No, that said very well. And it got me thinking, and like the way I look at balance is learning how to distribute sacrifice. So one day I'm going to sacrifice time away from my business and school and whatnot to like really be intentional towards my family. Right. But guess what? That's workload's not going to be any less. No one's doing it for me. 100%. So the next day I have to be like, hey, I got to sacrifice time with you guys so that way I can get back these things back in order.
100%.
There's, like you said, there's never a balance, man. Like
that to me is exactly balance. You're describing balance.
Well, and it's in a way, right?
But whatever you're describing, the week that you took off because of the snow, that's balance. You're thinking in your head, okay, I have a week off that I can take off, that I'm going to take off.
But I feel like balance is going to be, to me, balance is like a consistent thing.
The way balance
is, but doing that consistently is balance.
way balance is portrayed though is you got to have a certain amount here and a certain amount here and a certain amount here.
Yeah.
It's never going to be equal.
Yeah.
That's what balance is, right? All sides being equal.
every day is like this.
Every day it's a constant balancing act,
right.
but it is not the act of being balanced.
Correct.
Right? So like, and that also falls into like, to your point you just made just a second ago, it's also a team thing. Like doing things by yourself, although it may seem progressive, it doesn't always work. Like I would never be where I'm at today without the team. Like we have people that help us out that I don't have to pay. Like people are just like, yeah, cool. We'll just be a part of the thing, you know? And I'm like, this is crazy. Why would you even, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act. It's not balance because it's so difficult, bro. Like, and this goes for people who don't even own their own businesses. Like it's hard to work 9 to 5 and go home and take care of your kids and also go to the gym and also go like, again, it goes back to the non-negotiables. I got to work out. I gotta stay healthy. I gotta maintain somewhat of a diet that's not always McDonald's and Taco Bell. You know, I gotta maintain that because I have to perform on my job. I have to perform for my family. I have to perform for my friends. And then lastly is me. Like if I don't keep up my end of the bargain on all this stuff, I end up, you know, fat and out of shape and, you know, whatever the case may be. And it's like if I don't get my non-negotiables done, there's no work. Like I can't even try to balance anything.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on like what's that thing I always try and skateboard on? That balance ball deal.
Oh, the Bosu ball?
The endo board.
I don't even know. Yes. No, something else.
So it's balancing, right?
It's got that ball on the bottom.
Yeah,
and
you try and balance on it.
Yeah.
So like when you have nothing in your hands, you could probably, you know, most people could probably step up there and balance for a bit. But try juggling, hold this kettlebell and let me throw a tennis ball at you.
Yeah.
That's basically what it feels like, dude. Yeah. So in that act of if you're trying to balance and you're holding a heavy kettlebell and somebody's throwing you a tennis ball, what are you focused on?
Tennis ball.
No, you're focused on not falling.
Yeah, right.
You know? So you got to figure out how can I sustain this kettlebell and catch this tennis ball.
Right.
It's the same premise with work. It's all that. It's like my work is in my feet and my core to keep myself stable to where I can take on all this other stuff.
That makes sense.
Now, as you grow, and then over time, you know, I look at it too is like there's never gonna be a season where I'm just like, all right, just chill, because it's always a constant raising of the bar, right?
100%.
But you know, as you grow, you just become better at it all. Like you handle the chaos a little bit better every day.
Yep.
And you know, me, I wear all the hats right now, right? I'm tackling this and that. I mean, hell, I was talking to Lydia, and I was like, babe, we're a pretty ambitious couple. I mean, we got a 9-month-old baby. You've got a full-time job and you're pursuing real estate.
Yeah.
And so you're doing that too. I've got a full-time business and I'm in school full-time.
100%.
And like, we do all these things. I was like, man, this is a really wild journey. I said, it's a pretty fucking cool story though, that we're building. You know, but the thing is there's going to be fires to put out. Sometimes those non-negotiables, like that shit last week, dude, I didn't get to train 5 days in a row. Why? Because I was regearing structure and everything. But
100%.
The problem is like, it's okay to do that. Sometimes those non-negotiables, you gotta make that sacrifice, right? But it's all about getting back on track to those. You know, you're like, okay,
it's okay to fall. It's not okay to fail. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Failing is this is way too overwhelming and I'm done here. Mm-hmm. That's a failure. That's quitting on yourself.
Yeah.
Right. A fall, to take it to dirt bike terms, because I used to race all the time. But like if you fall over in the middle of a race, you don't just drop your bike and go back to the truck. You pick it up. you keep it going.
Yeah.
We got a goal to hit, people. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, I could go 5 days with no gym, but next week the gym better be ready because I'm coming back and I'm getting right back to where I left off.
Exactly.
And it's a team, like I said, man, it's a team thing. Like I don't want to keep harping on the marriage and kids and all that stuff, but it's so relative to all this. Like you wouldn't be able to perform like you do without Lydia, right? Like I'm the same way. Like I'm balls to the wall from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my wife, if I didn't have my business partner, if I didn't have you guys. Like there's a million different factors to it, man.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I totally get that. And even then we talked about that, and you know, I have a family and I'm doing this. And she's like, you know, did I give you too much pressure? And like, one, I give myself the most pressure, but two, she's like, you know, is it too much? And I said, honestly, no. I said, like,
bring it on.
That pressure you give me is so necessary. That's part of like one of the biggest reasons as to why I keep moving forward. Just your presence and like loving y'all so much, like that's just a massive amount of applied pressure. So
I could not agree more. And I think pressure, I think if you don't have pressure, I don't think you're going to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's possible to succeed in anything if you ain't got a little bit of stake, you know, a little bit of skin in the game.
And if you're a man that's like, you're living your life and you have a family and then you don't step it up, I don't see that. That's not very masculine of you. I think that's pretty weak. Personally, I think like a family should force you to step it up. If you're not, there's something wrong.
I had this conversation the other day with a friend, and especially on the kids thing, I was talking about how it doesn't make sense to me that people have kids and they stay in the same rut. Mm-hmm. Like to me, and it doesn't just have to be for just the kids per se, but like for me, it got me out of that rut to continue to like push myself more. Mm-hmm. Like I'm the same as you. I put so much pressure on everything that I do, like everything. It doesn't matter if I'm like, we open up a can of liquid death and I'm trying to race you to the end of it. Like if we're racing, I'm putting on so much pressure to finish this can before and that's like small compared to everything. Yeah, but I think that pressure I think it's necessary, man. It's
110% necessary.
And people look at it like, oh, it makes me anxious, which that's a whole nother, we had that conversation the other day. Yeah. About it disrupts my mental health and things like that. It's like, dude, that's just a part of your mental health is pressure and anxiety and all of those things.
Yeah. You got to learn how to handle that shit.
You got to.
And that's true. I mean, cause I deal with things that that fuck me up, but guess what? Like I learned how to handle it and improve it.
100%.
You know, but right, like using it as an excuse to, okay. I'll let you introduce this topic.
I want to ask you this. Well, yeah, it's partially into this topic, but I don't know if anybody on the podcast Waves knows about the whole cancellation on the Instagram, but I've been curious with this pressure, this new pressure that you found. And we're still fresh into it. It's been 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What's
something that has helped you continue to push the bar, not necessarily at any speed or any rate, but what's something that's kept you just, okay, we're still moving. All right. We're not going to slow. We're just going to keep,
there's a few things. One is like, for lack of better terms, is like never fucking quitting.
Yeah.
You know, like
I like that.
I don't even understand what that means. You know, like at this point in my life, like I can't even understand the concept of stopping.
Okay.
You know, so it's like when adversity comes, it's like, fuck it, you know? And also changing your perspective on things. Like a lot of people are met with challenges that like really shift their business or their life, and they're like, they back off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, we're still going. There's so much invested in it, no matter what. Where's the opportunity here? You know, and I was talking about this the other day. I was like, instead of asking myself, why me, why? And really trying to understand the why.
Yeah.
There's a reason for it. Someone's messing with my shit. It's targeted. And in a way, it's kind of flattering. Like, oh man, I ruffled your feathers enough in some fashion. I don't know what it was that you want to tear my business down.
Yeah.
So it just puts a chip on your shoulder. So there's a lot of aspects to it as to like why, like there's no choice but to keep going forward. Plus at the end of the day, I wake up every day knowing I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because it has purpose and it's going to make an impact.
Yeah.
And it does make an impact. And I understand how important that is every day. And I understand how like important it is to bring light to the world and help people and improve their mindsets and so on and so forth. And that is what my life's purpose is, as far as like what I'm pursuing professionally.
It's easier for you to not get beat down or bogged down.
Yeah, like I this is created from like my soul.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and fucking provides for my family, man.
Well, that's the reason I asked.
I gotta take care of them. This episode is brought to you by Relentless Pursuit. Check us out at relentlesspursuitlifestyle.com. Obviously, here on these platforms where you see this podcast, subscribe, share, all the things. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/The Relentless Pursuit Podcast. Coming soon, we'll be on Rumble. All the other platforms. We are no longer on Instagram. We were canceled off of there for reasons I do not know. But that's a whole different thing. Anyways, don't worry about checking us out there. But you can see everything that we're doing. I'm putting out the content that I would there through the email subscription on the website, on Patreon. We're going to be doing more here on the podcast platforms and all that different stuff. So we're still rocking and rolling. We're actually going to be doing more because of this situation. So check it out. And I am now passing on to Mr. Tylor Gentry.
This podcast was gratefully accepted by myself to come here and just, bring inspiration. But it's also for Ambition Threads, a motivating lifestyle clothing brand, empowering you to be the best version of yourself, which is why I'm here with my guy, Joe, because that's what we do out here. We're just trying to inspire people through clothing, through content, through everything to make you a better version of yourself. It's ambitionthreads.com. Don't mean to ruffle any feathers with this one, but we are on Instagram at AmbitionThreadsCo.
Traitor.
Wow.
And also the other business is Fresh Coat Surfaces. We are a full interior exterior painting company providing all of your needs because there is nothing better than a fresh coat.
And if you notice this nice coat of paint
Yeah.
behind me or him on the wall, that was done by them. And it is beautiful.
Fresh coat.
It just feels so sexy in here.
It feels very motivational.
I'm fired up just looking at it.
I'm inspired. I'm going to paint it again. I'll be back.
Dude, it's so funny because like anytime we got Peacock on, like watching Vampire Diaries on there, right?
Oh, big vampire.
And like I'm holding Ozzy. If she falls asleep, no, it doesn't matter if she's dead asleep. As soon as she hears that commercial coming, she's like,
she's a big Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, he's got that voice, bro.
and I'm like,
he's got that voice.
Dude, I read
and it's got like
his,
the little Western thing, and she's just like,
we read his
and
book.
then she'll like get comfy again. Yesterday
These are
she
my Green
goes,
Lights.
Yeah,
I
Green
read
Lights.
that
Have you
shit.
ever read it?
It's amazing.
I've heard it's really good. Yeah,
You should listen to the audiobook of him reading it. You're like, this is
I bet
best,
that's way better than
best
reading
book
it.
ever, bro.
Yeah, that's way better than reading
You could
it.
get him or Morgan Freeman to read my audiobooks. I'm like sold, dude.
It's a really good book, though, for real.
It's
It
funny.
is.
Lydia, I was cooking some eggs and Lydia was holding her last night, and that commercial came on. I walked around and she's just like, and she goes, she has her passion. And she goes, eh. I'm like, is that your favorite commercial? Yeah.
She thinks that's Daddy on the TV. She's like,
Man, I don't know. Matthew
Maybe.
McConaughey couldn't handle it.
maybe.
Nah,
dude.
he ain't got a mohawk, and the beard's not just full.
He doesn't.
Wait,
have
just to
an
be clear,
Just kidding.
I was about to say he seems insulted to be compared to Matthew McConaughey. Most men would die to be compared to
I'm
Matthew
Joe
McConaughey.
Adams. Okay, I am who I am.
Not
You can look
necessarily.
like him.
Like,
You can look
I'm
like
joking.
him.
The only thing I would say is that he's pretty skilled. Like I would take. I do love his voice. I would.
Oh,
take
he's very
his voice.
talented individual.
That's the only thing
Yeah.
you would say. That's the only thing you would say.
Yeah, because I can get shredded. You know.
I'm talking about more like the face, the hair, the fact he's like 60
What's
and
wrong
he's
with my
still
face and my hair, bro?
he's still a great looking dude. I would.
No, he
I would
is.
Take it.
If
I
I
would
get
take it.
if I get halfway to, I'm halfway to 60. But if I get there and I look like that, I'm gonna
you're not upset about
I'm
it?
gonna start doing you.
I'm not worried about it. My
No,
dad's
it's
60. He's a good looking dude.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
some good.
same,
I got some
same.
good genetics.
You
in
know,
the-
I'm like,
Same.
when it comes to that too.
Same.
We're all talking from a place of like, oh, who needs it?
I roast my dad all the time, but he's a good looking stallion. I'll tell
So
you.
I'm just like,
Just a
whatever.
little guy.
However I look is how I look.
That's a fair question since we're on the Matthew McConaughey thing. Do you have like, who do you look to like do this stuff? Like, do you
Nobody.
have like a top, like a Mount Rushmore of people that you're like, I want to emulate this? Like, not that you copy anybody.
I find it
but-
all through myth.
Okay.
So like obviously I bring up Lord of the Rings and Aragorn and like stuff like that. I try to apply a lot of those concepts that are in myths like
Yeah.
that and old stories.
Anything outside of spirituality, or is it just mainly there?
No, it's all
Really?
like the heroic ideal. Yeah, and you
Interesting.
even look at like the solar heroes of like, the Greek mythos and everything like that. Yeah, and a lot of their pursuits, and trying to stay on the solar righteous
Yeah,
path.
yeah,
and
yeah.
like I use a lot of those concepts as to like what pushes me forward.
Yeah, interesting.
Honestly, and yeah. So
That's
I mean,
you're the first person that I've asked that question to that answered that way. So I mean, there are obviously people, you know, like I say that, like I look up to Jesus, like that's a great person to look up to.
Yeah.
You know? But there's also like other entrepreneurs or other folks that I look to.
I will say, you know, I'll look at you know, because I'm in school for working toward you know on psychology and stuff, and you know, I started diving in a little bit of like, I know he's a neuroscientist, but like some of Andrew Huberman stuff, Jordan Peterson, because like, you know, I like their concepts.
Yeah,
I connected those a little bit more from a psychology perspective. So I'll look at a little bit, and then I'll listen to a lot of stuff that Andy Frisella says. Like I don't listen to like full podcasts at all, but like I do. You know, I find a lot of his stuff just super relatable as to where I'm at in life, man.
He's really good
like,
at
like he'll say, hey, you know, it's going to be 3 or 4 times as much as you think it's going to be. Like, no shit, I'm living that, you know?
He's really helped me out with that as well, as far as like the grind portion.
Yeah, because I can always like listen to something he says and apply it to my life and be like, dude, like fucking, I'm in everything he's talking about. I'm in there right now, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so,
100%.
But other than that, yeah, just like look at these stories.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's the reason I asked. So.
What about you?
Like I said, obviously Jesus. I've been that's just a thing that I have to like publicly shout you out for. Not to popular belief, but Joe and I are actually friends, and we don't believe all of the same things. Could be crazy, I know. God. But your spiritual journey and how strong you are in your faith has made me become stronger. And I'll never be able to thank you enough for that. Like, obviously, you're not the only one.
I appreciate
but you
that.
are a contributing factor to that. Like, I'm very religious about reading my Bible every morning and at least a scripture. If I'm like this morning, like I just had enough time to read one chapter, and I was like, okay,
that's
like,
something. That's
at least one thing. Like, I've been very, very religious about that. So
that's awesome.
I thank you for that. So yeah, obviously Jesus. There's a couple, man. I'm a big Rob Dyrdek fan. I know
you've told me that. You told me that.
He's my spirit animal. He's we got to talking about how Andy does a good job of like telling you like in the weeds type of content, stuff like that. Rob is a very holistic, like he's just a big time entrepreneur and thinks about some big time things, and sometimes it gets a little wild. And a little bit out of my knowledge space, but yeah,
I don't think people understand how much Rob Dyrdek does.
Yeah,
and what he's all involved in.
From just a like business standpoint, I mean, he's one of the most impressive like humans that.
But I think like a lot of people would have no clue.
Yeah, I mean,
like, when I first heard about all the shit he did, I was like, wait, Rob Dyrdek.
Everybody sees him as like the ridiculousness guy.
This dude is like a legit entrepreneur.
I'll butcher this, but it's like up to $150 million in revenue of like multiple businesses.
And isn't he DC shoes?
No, so he was just a
athlete for them.
He was an athlete for him and did some shoe design stuff like that. And then no, he was actually he started like Street League Skateboarding, like the official professional skateboarding league. Sold that company. Like his business now is building businesses and selling them. Right. Like that's honestly like
the dream.
I started my first business with that mentality, never heard of it once. And then once he said it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to learn everything about it, you know? Yeah. So like, he's definitely one that's helped, like that I just look up to in entrepreneurship for sure.
You know, it's interesting you say that, like your what your dream is, like building business, selling, like you're big on that aspect. And I was, you know, you can't help but sometimes compare. Like if I do like pull up YouTube and another podcast pops up, I compare it to mine. Yeah. I'll look at the subscribers and be like, the fuck? Yeah. You know, but I'm like, no, Joe, stop. You're in your journey. And even then, like you talked about, you know, I don't know, like yours popped up one day. I think I told you this. Yours popped up, something y'all were doing with your team. And then like even like, you know, Ruck had like their team for a dinner thing. And I'm like, man, like I can't do all that. Like you know, I'm like, oh, fuck, you know, I'm not meeting expectations. Yeah, and I was started spiraling. I'm like, stop it, Joe. Like you're on your fucking road.
Yeah, exactly.
Like my path is not yours. Like they're completely different at the end of the day.
To tell you how many times I've had that thought when you post something or Ruck post something or the people that we, you know, in our circle. Yeah. I think we all fall victim to that. I personally, I don't think comparison is bad. I think too much comparison to the point of envy or jealousy is bad, but I think comparing yourself to the next step for you, I think it's a part of what you're supposed to do.
It forces competition.
Well, it just forces you to want to push. Like I look at your like I've told you this a million times, but like I love podcasting. I love talking. That's probably one of the only things I'm good at.
Yeah.
And I've told you, like, I want to get back into podcasting. And I watch your clips and I watch these episodes and I'm like, dang, dude, that's the next step for me. So me looking at that and saying like, I can see myself doing this. I don't think that's bad at all. I think where it gets bad is like, oh, everything's Joe's got, like, oh, I'll just never be able to get there, because it can get to a point to where you compare yourself so much that you just start moving backwards.
Yeah, and then just like a lot of people compare their lives to somebody else's, and I think we talked about this last podcast too, with Savannah. You know, a lot of people look at someone else's situation and be like, I want that. But like, you don't understand.
Do you?
What it takes to get that. Like, dude, one, I'm still like paying to have this recorded.
100%.
80 episodes in, I'm paying to have this recorded, paying him. And guess what? That's out of like my pocket. So that's, if you you really think about that, like that's a lot of money, one, two, time,
effort.
You know, and it's technically free time, but you're building something that's going
100%.
to like take it to a whole other
100%.
level. So you got to, it's all about belief and vision and stuff too. But I think a lot of people don't understand that, like, the sacrifice it takes to like acquire some of these things.
Oh, and it's a huge sacrifice. Everything takes sacrifice.
But it doesn't look like that maybe from the outside. I think there's a big, huge misconception as to where somebody's at there. Like, dude, you succeeded so much. It's like, bro, I ain't even close.
Well, I mean, and we're talking about Andy Frisella, and, you know, hopefully somebody that, you know, he'll listen to it. I'm sure he will. But like, he even says that. He's like, dude, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. You know, I think it's necessary in the journey, man. I think, comparing yourself to get to where you want to go on your own path is totally okay. Like it's until the point to where you're like, okay, like, what am I doing here? Do I care that much about what Joe's doing to hinder my own life, or do I look at him as inspiration? Because there's two different ways to look at it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible. I don't think many people gain success by dwelling on other people's success. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
It does not happen like that at all.
Know, it doesn't at all, for sure. I just lost my train of thought because I was going to ask you another question.
You were asking me something. You asked me something before, and you were like, with the derailing, but the whole IG incident.
Yeah.
And like, what keeps me going? And then we went to a break, and you said, because there was a reason you asked that. Like, right before the break, you said, you asked me like, okay, because of that, what keeps me going? And I was talking about, well, the no quit thing, and then my family. And
I do remember it. This is a very unpopular opinion, but I asked that because of mental health. That particular circumstance was a very hard hit over here, under this roof. Like, it was a week of like, holy crap.
Yeah. In the middle of like starting classes.
Yeah. In the middle of all this stuff. So the reason that I asked that, this again, I don't want to offend anybody by this. And if it does, you're taking me the wrong way, but it was a mental health thing. Cause I've been personally going through some things lately, just with, growing businesses and understanding your lane and things of that nature. And, I asked because I was talking to you personally, and there's obviously, anxiety. There's obviously a level of depression to it. Not to say that any of those things aren't real. But I think the kicker to mental health, it's got such a stigma to it right now about how important it is. And I do believe that it is important, but I also do think that people need to realize that anxiety, levels of depression, I'm not saying like down in the dumps, all the way depressed. And I'm not saying all the way anxiety attacks and things of that nature, but you have to realize that those are part of everything that you face in your life.
Yeah. You're not special because you're facing those things.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I really, and again, I'm not trying to step on any toes here, but that's the thing that kills me about this whole mental health awareness thing, is that I don't want people to put so much awareness to it that they take away the problems.
Well, because you get someone that's like, I got anxiety, and it's like, well, join the club. Like,
well, that's selfishly speaking, that's the first thing I turn to is like, yeah, you think you're anxious, but like me. And then you take a step back from that and realize that that's not the right way to look at it. But you look at, there are far bigger problems on this earth that we have no idea what anxiety, depression, adversity, like we have no idea on some things. I just think that it's a part of the, I hate to say it like this because it's so cliche and I'm so hang loose like surfer guy, but it's being anxious about dreaming and doing, like you have to be anxious. You have to get sad. You got to get down, because if you don't, it's the meaning attached to the reward it's meaningless.
Yep.
There's nothing attached to it,
I agree.
That's where I was going with that. And I knew that was going to be a ruffling of a bunch of feathers. But.
Well, yeah, because people will just, there'll be those out there that like look at it through a certain light. They're like, oh, you're just discrediting mental health. Like it doesn't matter. And it's like, no, like I don't even look at mental health. I don't in a way, the same way as I think it's looked at as in a broad sense. I look at mental health, like we talk about those subjects, like things people have overcome,
right?
And I look at it as like, almost like working out, building mental health, not like, oh my God, your issues, like, hold on to them. Like how to, I don't try to coddle it. It's like, no, mental health to me is like mental strength, building mental fortitude and all the things like that's mental health. Like you're building it up, you're becoming stronger. You're facing all these things and utilize them in order to grow.
That's your reps. Yeah, that's your reps.
That's your reps.
Your over anxiousness. Now, I'm not saying go out there and get so anxious that you have a panic attack because that's not cool either.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, it goes back to the pressure conversation. It's pressure. That's what creates anxiety. That's what creates, I can't even think of the other words that are attached to it, but that's what creates chaos is pressure. And the only way to get those reps to build mental health is to go through and endure all of that. Because all that crap sucks. Like that's one thing that I love that you preach about that I've always preached about. Like, I don't think everybody's made to be entrepreneurs. I used to want to believe that you can do it too. And I genuinely think that people have what it takes, but it's about answering to that.
Yeah.
Because there's not been one part of this that's been easy. There's been parts that have come naturally. There's been parts that have been easier, but none of it is easy.
Yeah.
Like I love designing t-shirts. That's like one of my passions, really just like fashion design. That still ain't easy.
Yeah.
That's 5 hours in front of a computer trying to nail down a Sherpa flannel that I'm wearing. It took me forever to design this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. I loved every minute of it, but it made me anxious. It made me this, it made me that. So it's like, it might not be to the levels that we're,
I
used to hearing, but
no, I agree, man. And I think, and I've been the same way. Like, I'm like, oh man, everybody's got potential and is capable of this and that. We're all, we all stem from the same source and all this shit. But like, at the end of the day, that's the whole thing. You're right. I mean, I could sit there, I could go get a specific 9-to-5 career and do a lot better than I am now. And like, be like, fucking like, okay.
I disagree with that, but yeah.
I mean, at least at this point, like as far as even like maybe from a financial standpoint,
be more stable. It'd be more stable.
But then like I wouldn't trade what I do
100%
for any dollar, 100%. At the same time. But but a lot of people are really like at the end of the day, a lot of people find joy in what they do in like that hour. So there's nothing knocking it.
Nothing.
I think it's just there really are like it's hard to really kind of break down what it is that drives people to want to, I guess, build something on their own and have to go through that as opposed to not. And I don't think you're wrong either way, as long as I do think it's wrong to just like settle and waste your life away if like, damn, I've just settled, but this is comfortable.
Right.
I think there's an issue there. And I think we're more capable as human beings than settling and being comfortable.
100%. And I don't think we were made for that. I don't think we were created for comfortability.
I think society has embedded that over
well, I mean,
a long time.
Think about how easy it is to be comfortable. I mean, like I've got my phone, I've got my Netflix, I've got this, I've got that. Like it's pretty easy to sit on my couch.
Consumerism, baby. That's why you get all those commercials and shit.
It's pretty easy to sit on my couch and drink a whiskey or hang out and just be.
Buy this thing, put it in front of your house. Buy this thing, put it in front of you. Buy 100%. This, put your time into this. All you got to do is pay this much money, but you can have it and you don't got to fucking worry about anything else.
100%.
It'll totally strip you from your actual progression and get you nice and cozy. That way you're not really fucking diving into like things that actually matter.
That's the key, man. Don't consume people. Just keep, create. I'm just kidding. You could
create more than you consume.
Create more than you consume. Yeah. And that goes for like everybody that's not even entrepreneurs. Like, that's a 9-to-5er just doing it to provide. Like you work across the street from Amazon. Like that's a hard job. I'm sure they have struggles and anxiety and all that, dude. But
have you ever heard the phrase "teach a fish to climb a tree" and it'll go its whole life thinking it's stupid?
that's an interesting quote. Where did that come from?
It's a
That's hilarious.
It's a quote about education that basically they teach everybody to do the same jobs, and so there's a bunch of people that feel like, well, this doesn't really seem like it fits me. I must just suck.
I must be stupid.
I get Fs.
That's interesting that you said that because I grew up a lot like that.
And it also goes the other way, though. You were talking about people that, like, not everybody should be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And Gary Vee talks about that a lot, too. He said, like, being like a really, really, really good B player.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And, like, being the best B player and then, like, being mad that you're not an A player, it's like, well, maybe you are an A player that just hasn't got there yet. But maybe you're just a fantastic support piece, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Dude.
Sports is a really good example, right?
Sports is, yeah.
Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, these guys have multiple rings. And
Those are golfers.
Okay, yeah, I know it. I was like, oh.
It's actually basketball. Yeah. But point being is,
I would have known the difference.
they have all these rings, right? Who's the best player on those teams, Steph or KD? It's never those two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes
those
sense.
two are some of the best players of all time. They have rings. They have as being immensely awesome support pieces.
Yeah,
and so my point being with the fish and the tree thing is like, yes, it's definitely now more than ever the barrier to entry to be an entrepreneur is lower than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways that's great because there wasn't any it was so high before.
Yeah.
You know, so there it's great on that. And again, this comes back to the balance thing. It's like just because the barrier to entry is super low doesn't mean everyone should do it. And you may be a fish trying to climb a tree, being an entrepreneur, or you may be at that 9 to 5 being a fish trying to climb a tree, and maybe you should do entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But
and the only way you'll know.
Sometimes you just don't fit into that.
Yeah, and the only way you'll know is to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
try to climb a tree and you feel like, dude, this doesn't fucking work for me.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, I don't think everyone's made to be an entrepreneur, but I do think that there's value in starting your own business and figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, like, the only way you would have figured out if none of this would have worked is if you would have done it and none of it worked.
Yeah, no,
it
without
wouldn't
a
be
doubt.
like wishing or hoping it worked.
Well, that's the whole thing too, and it's also like true vulnerability and like being honest. You get a lot of people that have businesses and like they showboat on IG or whatever, and it's I don't know what's going on there right now.
I was
Kind
about
of
to
out of
say,
the
how
loop.
would you know?
I
just kidding.
what they used to do on IG back in the day, but you get like people that are, man, they'll be like flashing all their shit and they're like,
Drives me
all you gotta
insane.
fucking do is click here and
Drives me
I'll
insane.
show you how to do this. And it's like, bro, so there's such a, like, you get millions of people that are seeing that information. Like, that's all I gotta fucking do.
Yeah, makes it
Me,
easy.
I'm like, nah, dude, I'm gonna tell you how it fucking is, man. Like,
Well,
it doesn't-
and to their point, like, yeah, click that button. Like, that's how it starts. They neglect to tell you because it's not a sexy ad to tell you how bad this sucks.
yeah, and all they gotta do is collect that whatever you paid.
And hopefully
Along
they
with-
coach you. Like, I've been through several coaching programs. Like, hopefully they coach you. There's been some that worked. There's been some that didn't work. And it's just, having a coach and a mentor is never a bad deal, but no one's ever going to tell you how much it sucks until you figure
Well, and
it
you
out.
also have done it before, so you understand what I'm about to say. But a lot of people go into it. There's definitely a balance because there's people that are out there that are fucking snake oil salesmen, straight
Yeah.
up. And I could name names about very popular people that I cannot stand.
Call them out.
That I cannot stand on Instagram. And Andy Elliott, Grant Cardone.
Oh shit!
I have some issues with Andy Frisella as well. But
Oh boy.
I'll tell
Dude,
you,
you gotta edit that out. He's
but
sponsoring us.
I'll tell you the one that really bothers me is Andy Elliott. And the reason why Andy Elliott bothers me is
the bald
because
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why Andy Elliott bothers me is because Andy Elliott is under investigation by the FBI for fraud. Andy Elliott is under investigation by the FBI
That's tough.
for doing every single thing that a success coach should not do. And yet his clips get shared every day. Yet his clips are so that's the one that I'm thinking of in particular. Now, do I know every? Of course not. I'm just saying that I don't want a guy who's being investigated for lying and for financial fraud.
telling me what to-
telling me
yeah.
how to run my business.
Well,
and
that's kind of like
et cetera.
People crack me up with. It cracks me up because I'm not learning in school. Like, I dropped
You're
out.
right. Same.
I was
Same.
like 6 weeks into college and dropped out. Right.
Same.
But when I dropped out, my dad brought it up to me and he was like, "Dude, why don't you just go for entrepreneurship since you want to be a business guy?" And I was like, "The last thing I want to do is sit in an entrepreneurship class with an entrepreneur teacher that's never been an entrepreneur
Thank
telling
you.
me how to be an
So
entrepreneur."
that's
It
the
doesn't
other
make
thing I was
sense.
going to say is that a lot of these guys get successful on being a success coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's not that they
It doesn't
build-
until they become successful.
Right. And then they're
Yeah.
like, well, now I can, but they can now teach you how to build a success coach business.
Right. Right.
But that's not what they're teaching. They're teaching how to build a XYZ business. Like, but you never did that.
That's an interesting take.
You started a course and you're really good at selling courses. That's fine. So make a course about selling courses.
I think there's a great
Stop
area
making
there.
a course about fucking roofing when you had a roofing company for a year and it did okay.
I'm smelling what you're stepping
But the
in.
second side to that, just to be fair to both sides, right? And this actually where I started with this was to be fair to the people who do pay the money and do. I'm not talking shit about those people because they want help.
Well, and actually,
they're desperate
some of them work.
Yeah, and some of them do work.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people will go pay the money and do this, but then they don't, like you were saying, they don't put the work in themselves. Well, the guy on the other end, a lot of times, that's a lot of like the business format around selling a lot of that stuff is that they know you're not going to do it. So they can charge you a bunch of money knowing you're not going to actually follow through on it. Because a lot of people will say, well, if they're teaching you, why don't they just do it themselves?
Right.
Because how much easier is it to sell it to you for $5,000? You're not going to do shit with it.
Yeah.
Now, those 2 or 3 people that really do carry the program forward and do become successful, probably they put the work in on that.
Yeah.
They're not all snake oil salesmen. My point, though, is, to your point, you've done many of them. Well, none of them would have worked if you didn't do anything.
Well, yeah. I mean, they ultimately, one thing that it kind of goes back to everything that we're talking about here. Like, it doesn't work unless you do. Like,
Right.
I personally, I'm not a millionaire yet, but I would love to talk to a millionaire. Like, it would help me out and probably help out a lot of the pitfalls that I fall through. But I don't get there until I do it. Because to your point, like, you can have someone sell you a course all day long and it does work. Yeah. It's very evident that it works.
Right.
If it didn't, they wouldn't make a sale because it wouldn't work to them. But if you're not in the trenches with them, that's a completely different
And then you'll be
story.
like, well, that shit didn't work. He's a fucking scammer. It's like, well, you also didn't really do anything.
Well, and two, like that, the ad tells you that, like, hey, I've got this program for this much, but it gives you this. That, if you follow the program, it probably does. Like most of them, speaking that way. Right. But I don't think, I think it's gotten too easy for people to be like, well, I just bought this course, so I'm going to be a millionaire. Right. It's like, I don't think you understand that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And part of my point too is that I think those guys are banking on that. They're banking on the people that think that it's going to be like that. So that's where I have some of those. And again, it puts you in a position where, like, Tylor Gentry is a legit good dude. Tylor Gentry's legit built 5-10 businesses. We're talking, down the road a little bit. And it's like Tylor Gentry wants to help. Yeah. So Tylor Gentry wants to sell a course, and that's the best way to do it. Put together a course, sell it to as many people as you can. That's the best way to do it. But unfortunately, some people have given it a bad name, but you may be the guy who's like, hey, really follow this and it'll really work.
That's why I like content like this, because it's easy to listen to a 45-minute podcast about how hard it is, and then you can make your decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That it's really easy to be like, okay, well, they talked an hour about how hard it is. Like, I don't know if I can take it.
And that's a good point too.
It's like, or it's like, I don't
should
mind.
fire you up.
Yeah. How many of those do they go to? They just tell you how it's going to go great.
Exactly. Oh yeah, dude.
And that's what you were talking about earlier about how difficult it is. They're just like, so what you're going to do is you're going to get this program, and then you're going to learn it, and then a week from now you're going to start doing this.
And then you'll start seeing it.
And then the first day you're like, well, fuck, I don't know how to do this.
But there's some gray area here because there's also a lot of, like, professors or coaches or mentors that, like, maybe they don't have $1 billion business, but they got a gift at getting people to build $1 billion businesses or becoming the great. It's like
coaches.
I mean, my cousin Cliff runs Compound Wrestling out of Atlanta. He's one of the best coaches in the country.
That was never the best wrestler.
He wasn't an Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
He's gotten shit from Olympic wrestlers for not being an Olympian, but he's probably a way better coach than they all are.
Right.
Some
and
people are
there are people that are better coaches than
in sports in particular. There's a lot of that.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, they say if you can't do, you teach.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm trying to teach.
Yeah, and I think but there's a lot of connections between business and sports. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I think there's a lot of different dynamics. So I think there's a lot of gray. I think, at the end of the day, if you are trying to be an entrepreneur, if you invest in some courses, just know that not everything is going to be legitimate, and you might fucking end up wasting your money on some shit that didn't follow through.
Well, and it's also too, it's not going to do it for you. Like, that's the main thing going into those courses. It's a blueprint. It's not like, if you get a blueprint to build your house, it doesn't build your house. It just shows you how. Yeah. So, like, you just have to be very hyper aware of that. This is not going to show me how to do it. It's just going to, it's not going to do it for me. It's just going to show me the best ways.
Correct.
And there's also, I'm sure you know this, and I'm sure you know this as well, there's a million different ways to do it.
Yep.
Because if we can all agree, like, again, I am not rolling in the dough, but, like, making money is pretty easy. Like, I can sell a service, I can upsell this, I could go make money. Yeah. But sustaining something is the hard part that is not talked about.
Yeah, and also, and talking on that too, and there's no, like, God, everybody's journey is so unique and specific too. You're going to be hit with your own challenges that some of these people aren't going to be able to relate to at all, you 100%. Know, in life. Like, like I said, I listen to a lot of Andy Frisella's stuff. You know, difference between Andy Frisella and I, he didn't have like a daughter and shit in the midst of his crazy part. So like, I got a new dynamic that he can't relate to.
Right.
So like, I listen to a lot of things he says, but also have to like be like, well, I'm still on my journey.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the same as his.
Exactly.
And then, you know, you get people that put out books. They're like 7 steps of how to be effective entrepreneur. And like, people think you're supposed to take those fucking 7 steps. They're like, that's what I hate about like numbering things.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more steps. And then like whatever book tells you these steps, there's a lot more to that. But people like
between 1 and 2, there's so much that happens.
Yeah. And to my point, like it is a blueprint, right? Like, you know, I got out of debt several years ago with Dave Ramsey's 7 steps to getting out of debt, right? And I don't know if you guys know anything about that, but basically it's a 7-step formula. You follow these steps, you hit them in order. That's kind of the premise of the book. But what he tells you in the very beginning, and I'm probably butchering this, but like what he tells you is like sometimes these steps come at their own time. All so like when you're at step 3 and step 7 hits you, it's important to stay course, or it's important to shift and figure, you know, those things out because it's not as finite as people like to lay it out. Like 7 steps. That book is actually pretty good. 7 steps. 7
highly effective people or something. I think I have that book.
That doesn't have.
Maybe I think I've seen it.
That's actually a pretty good book. But anyway, it just goes back to doing the work, man. Like it's not an easy path, but boy, is it rewarding.
We're about to take a break. But go ahead, finish it.
No, I mean, that was my last thought.
Well, and one thing I was going to say too, you said, boys are rewarding, and that's 110%. The value I gain, like on the really toughest part of the the journey is like the most important part of it all.
Also, don't just like, generally speaking, my last thought on that whole thing is that maybe it's a hot take.
Damn it, Logan.
I don't know, but I don't give a flying fuck if you have money or not. I just don't care.
Well,
to me, that does not qualify you for shit. So, just because you have money does not mean.
Well, I wanted to finish.
Listen, there's been a lot of people that have scammed people to get money. There's been a lot of people that have inherited money that are not good people. There's been a lot of, just because you have a successful business does not mean that you need to be learned from.
I got a couple things that I want to finish my thought before we cut off. You know, at the end of the day, when you listen to somebody that mentors you, right? Like I had so many people. I go, my buddy Andy Lewis from Norse Fitness. He was like, Joe, like it's gonna put your back against the wall. It's gonna be fucking hard. And like you can sit here and hear all the things, and like even someone can sit there, like someone can listen to our podcast and hear how tough it is, and they're gonna be like, it still doesn't compute until you're in it.
Oh yeah,
like just 100%. So you know, like no matter what anybody tells you, until you're like faced with it yourself,
100%,
and the weight's on you, until it's real. You really can't like compute how it's going to be and how it's going to affect you and your life and so on and so forth. And then, and back to what was that statement you made, Logan?
Oh, I'm about to roast.
About the money thing.
I'm about to roast you.
I will say, so
good luck.
I'm just kidding.
I want to hear, cause I'm more on like Logan's line and maybe, but I want to hear what you say.
I'm listening
to it. Right. One, I place people's character overall. I think character is like the most important thing. Whether somebody comes at me and they got $10 in their bank account or $1 million, you know, if the millionaire's a shithead, then I want the $10 guy on my team.
Fair. That's basically my point.
And I think I'm a character person. And 2, it's like I've had a lot of people. I've met some people that hold themselves to such a higher degree because like. Maybe they're the boss and they got all the money. And it goes back to the character thing. And it's just like, well, say everything shuts down fucking tomorrow. What are you without that? Without that single dollar in the bank.
I like that.
And like, because guess what? If all those people were your friends because of how much money you had, but like when there's money doesn't exist, who's in your fucking corner? Do you actually have brothers? Do you actually have family and all that stuff? Are you really loved? Because like, dude, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, everything material can be stripped away just like that.
100%.
In any given time. So what do you fall back on?
Okay.
Minus that.
So here's where I want to go with this. Number 1, the money aspect of the teaching, you're right. It doesn't have much weight. Like, I don't care if you got a bunch of money, like blah, 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 whatever. However, from a business standpoint, if I'm going to grow a business and let's say I want my business to be a $5 million business, I'm not going to go talk to anybody unless they've made $5 million. There's no point in talking to, if you made $500,000 in your business, Why would I talk to
Right.
you about $5 million? You're not even,
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously character is a huge thing because like if your only sole purpose is getting money, like you've got another thing coming, dude. You're probably pissing up a rope if you want me to be honest. But
Did you say pissing up a rope?
pissing up a rope. Yeah. Like
That's a good one.
pissing in the wind. Same
Yeah,
thing.
that's
To me, if you're wanting to learn, if you're wanting to be financially successful or successful in business, you should look to people who have financial success in business. Because if you, like Andy Frisell is a great point. Like they're working on $1 billion brand.
Yeah.
If I want to create a brand
That's
that
the guy
is
you
worth
want
$1
to talk to.
billion,
Yeah.
$1 billion, I'm not going to go to
Right.
Joe Schmo up the street who's got this business.
Okay, I
because-
see what you're trying to say.
No,
Joe
you're
Schmo.
Joe Schmo here, not
not up the street.
Yeah.
It's a different guy.
Yeah. But if you're looking at
shit.
like Norris, a
Yeah.
perfect example. You went to him for his counsel because you know he's been through it.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't go to him just because you thought he's financially successful.
Yeah.
But it turns out he was pretty financially successful, for the most part. So you obviously would lean on him for more of business and things of that nature.
Yeah.
If it was just his character, why would you, if someone's a good character, why would you ask them to help you build their business? Or give me advice on helping me build a business?
Well-
because the paper trail, which is money, like if you're successful financially, you're going to have money. That's just the name of the game. Yeah. So in order to build that was my point, that was my roast, quote unquote, was like, you should care if your intentions are to build a business.
Right. I agree with
if
that.
If you're
100%.
going off of, hey, I want to look at so-and-so because I want to be a better man and a better character, and all he cares about is money, that's probably not the guy I'm going towards because I don't care about that.
Well, why'd you hire me to train?
Because I know you're in shape and I can see it because I can look at you and tell that you're in shape.
And you know like my story, and I'm like very open about like
also,
even coming from injuries and stuff, because people will be like, well, because people will be like, well, I want to get in it, but I got all these injuries, and I'm like, so I've been there,
Yeah,
but I can be honest about that.
Also, too, you don't. Gosh, I keep trying to think of the analogy, but it was like you don't trust a fat personal trainer. Like it's the same thing. Like if you were not eating your own food or drinking your own Kool-Aid, why would I go to you for fitness advice?
Yeah, if you got like all these trainers, right, and like all their names are in a hat because they're certified, and you pull a name, and you're like,
Right.
okay, that's my
Cool,
trainer.
they're a certified personal trainer.
No, you're going to be like, no, I want to fucking maybe look like that person, or
100%.
like, I see what they do. Like I want to,
100%.
I want to learn from them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the whole thing.
But it would be different. Like, yes, obviously your character was highly attached to that, but it would be a lot different if you weren't in shape.
I think it's like a minimum, right? If you're looking at for a trainer, you are going to look for somebody who's in shape. If you're looking for somebody who's successful, or you want to be successful financially, you're going to look for somebody who, I think
Who's achieved that.
Yeah, it's like, I think that's smart and that's correct. I guess my point is like, don't, like you were saying, just don't just look at that.
Yeah,
like if
it's
you
not-
see somebody on Instagram, and like we were talking about earlier with the Lambo, it's like, great, they have a Lambo. Look a little further.
Like
Listen to what they're saying.
Ty Lopez used to kill me because he was always like, I'm here in my house
I'm
in
here in my
Bali.
garage with my Lamborghinis.
I got my 50 cars. And it's like, that's awesome, man.
Right.
But like, if that's what you're building your business, like, I don't even know to this day what he does.
What he does.
There's a lot of
So
people
Who
like that.
fucking knows?
That's my point. That goes into the character thing. It's
That's
like,
kinda what I was talking about
if
earlier.
Andy Frisella and those guys are offering me a course, I'm probably going to go buy it because I know Andy, his character at least,
yeah.
and I know what he talks about and I know
Yeah.
what he preaches.
Yeah.
It sticks with me. Like I listen to it quite often.
Yeah.
So it's like I'll go and seek advice from him instead of like what we all fall guilty of is I'll go come up with 5 T-shirts and a cool campaign to run, and I'll just go ask one of my random friends who are not in business, and they're like, "Yeah,
Hey, what do you think
it
about
just
this?"
doesn't make sense."
Yeah,
And
no,
you're
that
like,
makes sense.
yeah, I won't do it then.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why would I let them dictate running my business?
That
Like
makes sense.
they don't know, no disrespect to them. Like I've got some of my best friends don't want anything to do with running businesses.
Yeah.
And they call me crazy, and I love it because I'm just like, I get to lean on them for certain things. They also on me for certain things because
Right.
they, it's just one of those things. But I'm not going to go to them and be like, hey man, I'm trying to build a $10 million brand.
right.
How can we get there? And he's like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'll ask my boss or,
Right,
so
right.
it's a different conversation. But yeah, to your point, like you want to look at the character, you want to look at like that. That's why I'm here training a couple times a week is like,
appreciate that.
I know I know the mission is the same as my mission. So like, let's all link up and do it all together. If it weren't that way, we'd do 3 or 4 sessions and I'd be like, this dude's like eating Twinkies while we're working. Like, I'm trying to quit eating Twinkies and this dude's eating Twinkies. I don't get it.
I only like eat like 12 donuts at once.
Yeah. A couple key limes.
A couple key limes here and there. That's
couple
it.
Key limes.
You know, and it's interesting you say it too. And like, plus a lot of these people we talk about, like people that are like vulnerable about their journey. Like they're open about their failures and like how the struggles and stuff like that too. Like pay attention to that kind of shit, man.
Yeah,
like,
dude, that's huge.
If they're just like
for sure
pop up and they like got the cars and like the money and they're coaching you, it's like, well, like how legitimate is this? Like how did you actually build that?
Yeah,
like I want to
100%.
know I can relate to you at least
100%.
from this standpoint and this like lower level.
It goes back to what we were
things.
talking about. Like you want to feel a part of something. Everybody does. Like everybody. That's like, you know, anything in life. Like you want to be a part of something great. Like you know. But to your point, like how can you be a part of somebody that just shows off their Lambos? Like that's awesome, dude. But
I'm not trying to pick on Andy Elliott, but I'm just going to use him as an example.
You are
again.
Though. You're roasting him, dude.
But it's frustrating to me because it's like guys who, and a lot of times it is men, not just men, but a lot of times it is men teaching men. And like I said earlier, these guys, like people are in such a desperate spot whenever they're doing that, whenever they come to you. And like, it's just like,
it's not right.
Like I hate when people say that. I've heard this a lot of times about a lot of things, but it's like, well, he's making a lot of money. He must be doing something right. It's like, no, that is not automatically correct.
And he must be doing something right, but he's not doing a lot.
Well, he must be doing something. He's doing
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, he's generating. Yes, he is generating money.
Right.
That is like, what is your point? Like to me, I'm like, and like what?
Exactly.
Like
it goes back to like what the purpose is, dude. If your whole sole purpose is to make money, I'm bummed for you because there's so much greater things than making money.
Right.
Dude. Like you've been broke, I've been broke a lot. Money comes and goes, man. It's
just like you were saying earlier, money can be made, right?
Money can be
Don't
always
go to
made.
this guy because he makes money. There's a lot of people that make money to sell courses.
I showed a kid in my neighborhood how to make. He made like $300. This was hilarious. He saw me unloading my paint and stuff out of my truck one day, and he was like, "Hey, are you a painter?" And I was like, "Yeah." You know, we got to talking or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, I'm looking to like for a summer job." And I was like, looking around my house, and I was like, "I'll tell you what you do. You get some like a little bit of bleach." This kid was like 16 years or 15 years old. I was like, "Get a little bit of bleach. Get like does your dad have a pressure washer?" He was like, "Yeah, he's got one." I was like, "Get your dad to take you around the neighborhood and wash out people's trash cans. Charge them $20." And he came back like a week later, and he was like, "Dude, I made like $300 that day."
Very nice.
Like,
Very nice.
There you go,
Nice, dude.
Making money is easy, dude. It's easy. Like if there's a need for something,
That's
people
called
will
a person
pay.
that wants to help.
People will pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you just got to watch those sharks out there because it does get a bit tricky.
Well, it's something
to
that
your point.
Gary talks about when I started my business that I believe, and I tell everybody whether we're doing a podcast, it's like, or whatever it is, it's like, put your best stuff out for free. Sounds crazy. Put your best stuff
It's
out for
always
free.
true though.
It is 100% true. And so that's my point too with the course thing. It's like, put your best stuff out for free. Now you can't put out the details. I
Yeah.
get that.
Best
But
advice.
what
Best
are we
this.
gatekeeping
Yeah.
here for? If you really want to help, what are we gatekeeping here for?
There's, you just got to watch them, man.
That's what I'm
Just
saying.
got to watch them because making money's easy.
And again,
I don't have a lot of
the
it.
only reason why it frustrates me so much is because the people that are thinking about doing it, they really need it.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
like, I really need direction. I really need help. I'm
100%.
I'm behind on bills. I really need this.
Yep.
It's like, pay attention to who you put that faith in.
I can get on that too, though. That's like man. If you're like just your life's built and your wealth is built off screwing people over, like
It'll fall.
there's
for sure.
Even if it doesn't while you're alive, like eternally, there's an effect there.
It'll fall.
I think past death.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
It's-
more.
That's what I'm
There's a
saying.
bigger
Like,
picture to it.
I
Like,
feel bad for you because there's a lot bigger problems you got to deal with.
yeah, like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like this is only a small stint of time, and it's like you're
100%.
building like this happiness
Right.
off of just off of
Fucking
wronging
people.
people.
Yeah.
Guess what? Cool. It's only gonna last while you're here, man. And you're like,
That's one thing that like I never we talked about this before, but like I never want to be the guy. Like I don't want people looking at me like people look at Gary Vee.
Yeah.
If it happens, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I'll do everything I can to inspire. But one thing that I've always had the dream of was like building a school for this. Like
Yeah.
because it's very hard to encapsulate and build and put into a curriculum. Yeah. But one thing that I want to do with the painting company that I started is I want to go to kids that are in high schools and coming into college or even in college really, and like making a makeshift trade school that like kids can come in and not only understand the trade, but understand the business of like, this is what you go through and do those things. To me, those things help.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I would have loved that getting out of high school because I didn't want to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was blessed to work with my uncle who taught me painting and taught me the trade, didn't teach me business. So I was like, oh man, now I got to figure all this stuff out and all this. So it's like, that's been my whole dream with entrepreneurship is how you can teach it better.
I agree.
Because it's so, like I said, it's complicated for sure. And it's hard to encapsulate, but there are ways to do it. Like I've got plenty of notes on it. And if anybody listening would want to help, give your boy a good shout. But it would be just something that's helpful, you know, like something that like, that takes the weight off our back. You know, think about one thing that could help you build your business today that you don't know. Like me, it's like ads and marketing and like that's like I'm a big brand guy and could crush all that, but I don't know everything about ads and ad spend and I don't know everything about this. So it's like, let's create a school to teach people that these are the things that you need to succeed.
Oh, dude, trust me, man. Like sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck, dude?
Because there's so much. Yeah. There's just so much. It is a lot. Like I know we harp on that, but it actually is. And it's truly the people who rise to the occasion you'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing too, is like, you know what? No matter what, if at the bare minimum you're doing the best you can every day, you're fucking good.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna figure it out.
Like if you're giving your all, you're pouring it all into it. Yeah, some guidance here and there and regearing, but if you're like really pouring everything you have into your path, into your goals, I think it's going to play out well.
100%.
You know, and yes, there's more to it than that. Like it's not just like, I don't know.
Do this and you'll succeed. Yeah. Buy Joe's course, guys.
Really, I mean, but to me, I think it's a pretty. Man, most concepts when it comes down to it is just like really simple.
They are simple,
Like, keep fucking going. If you're faced with something, take it on, turn that into something, do the best you can, go all out. And, you know, that's
simple.
Things are going to pan out.
Simple by design.
Yeah.
Hard by application.
Yeah.
Simple, but not easy too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Well, no, I mean, the steps are easy. Like,
no, I'm saying like to say work hard, get up every day.
Oh yeah,
it's like,
that's what I'm saying. It's
simple,
hard to
but it's hard to actually do.
It's hard to apply. So like it's simple by application, but it's insanely difficult to apply and stay consistent with.
That's one thing. That's one thing, man. Is like a lot of the most simple concepts are the most difficult to fucking
100%
for people
to
grasp.
Here's a good one for you. Be nice to everyone. That's one of the hardest things that everyone, like, you get cut off out here in traffic, you're not nice. I don't care who you are. You go to Nashville and sit in that traffic.
Oh my God,
you're not nice.
How about the 4 agreements? Expect nothing, accept everything. Sounds easy.
It's hard to do.
Till IG takes your account away, and then you're like, gotta just accept it.
I'm done here.
I'm like, who do I got to smack in the fucking mouth? Like seriously.
No,
that's the first thing that came out. I was like, I'm gonna kill
100%.
I'm not gonna kill anybody.
But to your point about
here we go again.
I'm flagged.
I'm just kidding.
To your point about being better than you were before, the thing that I put at the top of my list whenever I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing of tracking what I do every day, I call it the true nobility system, and it's from a phrase that says true nobility is being with a capital B. True nobility is being superior to your former self.
Okay.
So
you track what you do every day?
Yeah. You're truly noble if you're just superior to who you were before.
You talking my language over there?
I'm talking your language, baby. I got a whole system I designed. Point base and everything.
Do you like give yourself point? You gamify it?
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
Like you gamify it? Like
yeah. So that you get 75 is a win, 90 is an elite day, and 100% is a championship, which is almost champion level, which is almost impossible to do.
Don't say that.
The first one is worth 30 points, which is training. So if you don't train, you automatically can't win the day. Unless you do a bunch of extra shit, which I give myself bonus points too. But it's it came from a really simple book that I was given by somebody where it's like you just have 5 things to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have more than 5 things to do. And I don't know. I customized it. But
Well, the reason I asked that, I'm a very I am not a disciplined person. So in order for me the things that have worked for me for discipline is gamifying it.
Yeah.
So each
Creating a
thing is a
competition.
point. Yeah. Each thing is a point. I have to, excuse me. I have to hit those points every day. If I don't get my score of 10, My week score is 50.
That's exactly it.
In rock and roll.
That's exactly it.
It's
I like that.
you should get on the game, dude.
Yeah, I thought y'all was going to.
That's actually.
And then putting your record each day is like, oh, I'm
Well,
3-1. I'm 3-1 at the beginning of this month. Okay, I'm looking good.
Then you can say, okay, this whole month I've been consistent, or this month I haven't been.
And then as you go through the years, you say, well, January last year I didn't have a lot of wins. Why is that? Oh, well, it's because the beginning of blah, blah, blah. Okay, so January this year, I'm going to make sure I'm focused on not.
Well, and then you have the ability to win chaos strikes. If you fall to your point system and rely on it, you then see where chaos strikes, because you could go days with no points and be like, whoa, what happened
Remember
here?
McConaughey talked about how when he wrote his book, he said, I wrote all this stuff for a long time, just thinking eventually one day
something will happen.
But when he first started writing really consistently, he said, I realized I was only writing when things were going bad. He was like, I feel like I should be writing when things are going good, so that when things go bad, I can look back on it and say, well, this is what I did when things were going well.
Yep.
And so whenever you're tracking your days, it's like, damn, I really killed those 3 months. What was I doing during those 3 months? Oh, I was working out every day. Oh, I was whatever. So
oh, dude, I got all these journals. I had a buddy talk about that too. Like, don't sit there and like at the end of each day of this journal is like write your thoughts or whatever.
Yeah.
Like write some positive shit, even the smallest win, right? Because like one, it's pretty depressing to look back on your book and just see like a bunch of bad shit every single day.
Yeah.
Like it's good to be like, oh shit, like I forgot about that PR I hit that day, or I forgot about, even if it's just something.
That's why I like that. I like the point system, because it does allow you to win every day. Yeah. Like if you've got 10 things and you're trying to get 10 points and you get 10 points,
that's my thing is like,
that's a win.
It's like hitting. There's a whole book called the 70% rule, and it's basically like if you hit 70% of your goals, you're absolutely killing it. In reality, if you look at the big
grand
picture, 70% is like
doing
amazing.
Good,
So that's why I made mine 75 to win.
Got it.
It's like 75 is still a win. Like, I didn't get those 3 things done, but I still did all this shit that added up to a win.
I like that.
And what you were saying too, the last thing I'll say is a gratitude journal, right? So that's one thing that I've gotten bad about not doing either of these things. But I try to do a gratitude and a pride journal. So like 3 things I'm proud of that I did that day, 3 things I'm grateful for, and it could be big or small.
I like that.
And
that's in my planner.
The biggest thing that I find is, yes, it's great to write it down and it's great to go back and look at. But the biggest thing that I've found with that is that it teaches your brain to look for gratitude, right? So it's like you find what you're looking for. There's like a million different experiments about that. But I saw one yesterday. Close your eyes, look at all the brown stuff. Close your eyes, where was the red stuff? You guys have seen that
Tony
before.
Robbins.
Yeah, or like the monkey. Have you ever seen the video? It's like watch the balloon as it bounces. And there's a whole ass fucking gorilla that comes into this frame and starts dancing around.
And you
never see it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's crazy. But it's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So if you're every day, you're like, oh, I got to do my gratitude. And you get into a space of like, okay, what am I going to write in my gratitude journal tonight?
Yeah.
It teaches you to find things to be grateful for and find things to be proud of.
2 things your mind cannot have when you're in the state of gratitude is fear and anxiety.
Yeah. And you can't
Brain
think
actually cannot.
can't think 2 things at once.
Yeah.
So if you're grateful, you can't be afraid.
So if you're always grateful, you will never be in fear.
And that's all I got for you. I'm done.
You'll never be anxious.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, whether I'm holding Aussie on this couch here or this couch here, I'm still holding my daughter.
100%.
And that's like when things get overwhelming, it's like, fuck. It's like, dude, at the end of the day, like, that's something to be extremely grateful for, bro.
That's the key to success is grateful.
Yeah. And I think I wrote about this. I put this out there somewhere recently. It was just like, a lot of people don't realize, like, when you really think about it, if you truly look around, everybody wants, and they need. But at the end of the day, you probably already have it made.
100%.
In the grand scheme of things, like, you probably fucking are good, dude.
Yeah.
So,
Stop
like,
and smell the roses.
yes,
That's a great thing.
Truly,
God,
it's so. But again, simple concepts that are so hard for people to grasp.
Hard by application.
One really easy way I feel like to look at that, to realize like how good you have it, is just think about your parents and your grandparents. Like my grandfather would have. My grandfather was a photographer. I didn't even put it together until later in life. I'm like, God damn, if he had the opportunities I had, who knows what his life would have been like?
100%.
Who knows?
100%.
And instead, he was selling telephone books. And it's like nothing against that, but I'm just saying, like, he didn't have the opportunity. He couldn't go buy a camera for $800 and start a business. He just could not do that.
That was $800. I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was. Just like, I just bought one that was way more expensive.
Well, as we finish up, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I got gypped.
Right. As we finish up, is there anything you got for us, man? I think we covered it like heavily on
I'm just a big mindset guy, and I knew that once we wanted to bring back the three-peat, that's what it would be about, because I think that's like the biggest kicker. But no, I mean, dude, we're moving, man.
There's so many subjects we can dive into. You're going to be back for a 4.
Dude, I'm ready for number 4. I'm grateful to be here.
You need to do a Patreon episode with us too.
Yeah, we got to get Roy. Shout out to Roy.
Yeah, I want to do a Patreon today, actually, but I gotta head to school soon.
Yeah.
But
But no, we're working, man. We've got a pretty unique collection dropping on March 7th, National Cereal Day, for Ambition Threads. That's the hint that I would give everyone, but it's actually kind of cool.
nice.
So we got that dropping. Got some an athlete collab dropping the next week. And then, yeah, dude, just painting the world a wall at a time or whatever we're painting that day.
Yeah.
Trying to, just inspire and keep moving forward.
Oh yeah, bro.
That's what I got.
I love it, dude. I'm proud of you.
I think I'm proud of you, dude. I think I'm a little more proud of you than
All
you
right,
are of
listen,
me.
Oh shit!
You guys
whatever.
get a fucking ring.
I'm more proud of you. Oh wait, I do got to say one thing, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm glad it popped up right before.
Ah,
But
that's what she said.
is also if you're pursuing something, believe in yourself more than anybody ever will. And I'm talking to the extent of like you think you're like I told Lydia the other day, and like this is just it's a mindset thing, not necessarily like oh like the other dads suck.
Yeah.
I'm like babe, I'm pretty sure I love Ozzy more than any dad loves their daughter in this fucking world. She's like that's a little unfair, and I'm like yeah, but that's
Nope.
I got to think that way to be the best father,
100%,
right?
yeah.
And so it's like if you think that if you had that mindset, no matter how early you're on your business, like I'm gonna be the fucking best at this.
If you
like that is a key thing to success right there.
If you're going through your life and you don't think you're crazy, you're not dreaming big enough.
If you believe you can and you believe you can't, you're probably right.
You're both right.
Anyways,
But I mean, no.
It's true.
Dream big enough to make yourself look crazy.
but I am like the best dad ever, so whatever.
I don't know, man. I'm pretty good,
Okay, here we
dude.
go. Before we get
I'm
on
just
another,
kidding. Hey, thank you for letting me come talk my crap. This has been great.
Love you, dude.
I look forward to this more every time.
Always a pleasure, man.
I love
and
you.
I will see you here tomorrow morning.
And I'll be here tomorrow morning to work out.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Goodbye.
Thank you guys.
Dun it. Sorry.